This is Allie Spain's Inventory of Practices final presentation for ECE 103. The Inventory of Practices, or the IOP as I call it, is a tool used by individuals and groups to identify training needs and plan a course of action to address the needs related to 4 general areas. However, we focused on 3 of these areas for this presentation: building positive relationships, creating supportive environments, and social and emotional teaching strategies. For me personally, the IOP was beneficial because it allowed me to look at areas that I'm strong in and look at where my strengths lie, and also pinpoint areas where I can grow and things that I could train myself more on. It was a great tool for self-evaluation and reflection, and has really helped me to kind of figure out just how my classroom is running and how it could be running more in a productive way. The first category that we looked at was building positive relationships. My strengths in this area included communicating at eye level, and I know this is one of my strengths is because I always make it a point every day when I'm communicating with my children that I ask them to look me in the eye, or I get on my knees and sit on the floor with them when I'm just talking with them or playing with them, just so I'm more on their level. I also use a variety of strategies for building relationships with all of the kids in my class. I kind of let them lead, and if they're super interested in one thing, then I will get involved in that with them to kind of build the relationship. There are other children that are maybe more reserved, and so I'll sit with them, in a corner quietly and just talk with them or read books with them and just kind of follow the children's lead with that. I also identify behaviors that push my buttons really well. I do this with my co-teacher a lot, just so I know what they are and how to manage them. It's important for me to at least know for myself what might make me more upset, and to manage those situations and be more calm during those situations. Some training that I would love to do in this area is to participate in children's play when appropriate. Sometimes I can be so focused on a goal or on an activity that I forget that I'm there to play with them too. So I want to do that more to build those relationships. I also would like to work better with a team to problem solve around issues related to challenging behaviors. Sometimes I feel like I'm kind of in it on my own, and I forget that I have a co-teacher and there are other teachers there with more experience that I could get some good ideas from for how to deal with challenging behaviors. The second category we looked at was creating supportive environments. My strengths in this area include in monitoring children's behavior and modify plans when children lose interest in activities. This I especially note during circle time, just knowing when it's time to end it or switch things up a little bit. So if I see they're getting restless or not really focusing or paying attention, then I will change gears and switch it up. I also consider the child's interests when deciding what to put in learning centers. Our sensory table and art is really big for this. I try to add more materials that they love. They like to get messy and they like playing in water, so I try to do those things more often in our sensory table. And I also like to add books to our library with topics they enjoy. We typically keep it seasonal, but I like to kind of focus on what they're enjoying or talking about a lot and do more of that. So the girls were talking about dolls for a while and babies, and so I got some books from the library about babies and put them in there, and just things like that. I'm also good at keeping rules to a manageable number. Since I work with toddlers, they can't remember and retain all of these rules that I would like to have. So we have 4 main ones in our class that we keep really simple and keep them positive. Some areas that I would like to work on in this category are arranging traffic patterns so there are no wide open spaces. In my class currently, it's pretty an open plan. The centers aren't really separated from each other too much, so I would like to work on fixing that up and kind of closing some things off, not completely, but just to add some more definition and clear boundaries. I would also like to work on teaching children about the schedule. We do have a daily routine that we follow, but it's not communicated well with the toddlers in my class, and I would like to do better at that. And I'm also working on providing warnings prior to transitions, especially since transitions can be kind of hectic, especially with toddlers. I want to be better at giving them a few minutes warning before we transition into something else. The final category we looked at was the social-emotional teaching strategies. My strengths in this area include teaching children strategies for self-regulating or self-monitoring behaviors. I feel like I'm pretty good at this, just reminding them to take deep breaths, take breaths with me, letting them know it's okay to take a break if they want to go in the cozy corner, or asking for a bubble if they just need some space. I've gotten pretty good at just working with kids through their self-regulating process. I'm also pretty strong in using pictures and posters, etc., that portray people in various emotional states. One thing we incorporate in our classroom are feeling cards and a feeling book. We go through these a few times a week and just point to the different faces and label them and what they mean. And we also work with each child in starting to label their feelings as well. Modeling phrases children can use to initiate and encourage interactions. I offer suggestions to kids in different situations, like, why don't you go ask her this? Or how about you say this? And just offer them something, kind of like throwing them a bone and giving them some encouragement in that way. Some areas I would love to improve on in this category are using peers as models of desirable social behavior. I think that this would be important because we do look up to people and we model our behavior off of people, and I would like to just point out the positive behaviors that are being modeled by their peers and do more of that in my classroom. I would also like to be better at labeling my own emotions and providing an action statement along with that. I think I do well in the labeling my emotions part. However, providing an action statement such as, I'm feeling upset, so I'm going to go take a break over here, or something like that, just being able to model that for my students. My greatest aha moment in this class and while doing this inventory has been learning about developmentally appropriate activities for my students. Since I do work with toddlers of a younger age, this has been beneficial in the planning of activities and what we do during circle time and deciding what toys we have in our classroom. I've also realized the importance of teaching them to recognize feelings and emotions in themselves and starting to with others. Doing this has been beneficial and really working in my class, especially since I've been learning of how to do it at a developmentally appropriate level for my students. And completing this inventory has helped me even more with that, just to see where my strengths are and where I could be changing things up a little bit to benefit them even more. And these are my references. Thank you.